So, as much as I love my car, as you can see, there's one big problem with this car, and it's simply that I can drive it perfectly fine, but I can't close well, I can close the sunroof. I just can't close the sunroof cover or whatever you call it. But kind of lives with it. Head gets a little cold in the winter, hot in the summer, that kind of thing. But well, I mean, I knew it was gonna happen. It's just my height, and then I'm a big dude. That doesn't bother me as much because I've driven small cars, relatively small cars in the width department. But the height is just ridiculous. The thing that bothers me the most is that there is a very large gap. Oops. There's a very large gap where they could have lowered the seat a little bit, but I guess they weren't thinking that tall people were going to be driving the Japanese cars or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's one thing. I mean, I could lower myself, but even then, if I'm sitting low in the seat, my back's not to the lumbar support, that type of thing, it's still pretty bad. And I can't sit up straight. Usually I have to lean a little bit, but to me it's totally worth it. Again, I've driven small cars. Toyota Camry can do the same thing. You know, I have the same issue. It just simply doesn't fit me right. In the height department, I hit my head. At least in the Toyota Camry, I close it, but it still hits my head. So that's one of the things. The really strange thing is, in my WRX, I had no issues. Like, I literally had, like, I could have put a helmet on. I had so much space, but yeah, it's something to live with. That's one of the things I hate, quote unquote, about my Lexus ISF. It doesn't bother me too much, but for a lot of people that might be kind of bothersome. Yeah. Another thing I hate is, as much as I love my car, and I say this loosely because it's not that big of a deal. So my knees touch if I have a passenger in the back seat, and then again with the height, with my height, you know, it's kind of like I'm running my head into the visor all the time. So this is kind of my point of view, more or less. Well, you know, hitting my head, and then my eyes are right here. So I mean, if I have to, you know, look behind this giant rearview mirror that's in my way, if there's other cars or anything, if it's in my blind spot, then I got to do that, which is, you know, it's not that big of a deal, really, to me. I have a lot of blind spots, so I would say that's my number 4 thing. So there's that giant pillar that gets in the way. There's a blind spot right there, and there's a giant blind spot right there. So got some snow on here, don't mind that. So that's one of the things. But you know, if I drive responsibly, if I'm not being stupid, it's perfectly fine. That's another thing. The blind spots is another thing that my kid mentioned when driving this car. Yes, I let them drive it, because I mean, it's a daily, granted. Well, that's exactly what it is. You know, it's a daily. It's not a car that goes in the garage. It has just a little bit over 200,000 miles, almost 201,000 exactly. It gets okay gas mileage for a daily driver. It's 17 right now because I was not being the greatest. But it's a great daily, with the exception of the issues that I have. If there's somebody super short, so another trick on any vehicle, really, when you're driving in the snow, you want to keep your, like I said earlier, your torque down, but you want to keep your curve smooth. Like, you're not gonna want to, same reason you want to be in sport mode. You want to keep your torque smooth, rather than, you know, have a sharp increase in torque, and then your curve, you know, skyrockets, and you know, you get no traction essentially, thus causing a dramatic situation. And the trick isn't to learn how to correct your mistake, it's to prevent the mistake altogether. But you know, it is important to know if you're you know, if you're going to be able to recover from a screw up, more or less. It's similar if you've ever driven, you know, on slicks or more or less summer or really aggressive tires that are cold. It's kind of a similar concept, only that's more predictable on dry pavement. This is total unpredictability because you don't know if it's been salted. You don't know if they chose a different method to you know, make it safer. So you just want to be consistent with your acceleration. Needless to say, again, it is a helpful tip, but if you've never driven on snow or ice for that matter, always good to you know, keep it off the cruise control, because then all the cruise control knows is to keep speed. So if your tires slip on black ice, for example, when you're in control, when you are off cruise control, you could correct it. You could let off the accelerator, give yourself gas when you need it again, and then you know, decelerate when you need to get the proper traction and get you going in the right direction. But with cruise control, it only knows one thing. It's a computer. It's to keep you going at 70 miles per hour or whatever speed you have. So when you slip, all it knows is to accelerate, because it's detecting not the slippage, just detecting that you are going under the speed limit. Had to make room for a pedestrian there. That you're going under the speed limit here, or excuse me, under the speed that you set it to. So it's going to slip, and you're probably going to end up in a ditch. You wouldn't really want to do that in any vehicle, rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, anything. But if you're familiar with, if you are driving a truck now, if you're familiar with driving trucks, this might not be very different, because you know, most trucks, for myself anyway, I drive in too high all the time, so might be a little bit used to it, especially if you have snow tires. I wouldn't say it's totally comparable, but somewhat comparable to a truck, if not more predictable if you did what you should and have snow tires. So that's one thing to look out for. And I'd say the last thing I hate about my car is just the dated. Now this is again, I'm nitpicking. I'm trying to find something because it's really hard to find anything. But the dated navigation. So far, this trip has me falling in love with this car. But quite frankly, that fuel economy is making it worse or better, depending on how you look at it. Am I Prius yet?